Hours after Iran boldly captures several ships in the strategic Strait of Hormuz, is President Trump responding by sacking the Navy Secretary in a shocking move? Amid the U.S. Navy's series of embarrassing failures and setbacks against Iran in recent confrontations, there's now intense churn and upheaval unfolding at the Pentagon. After the recent sacking of 3 senior U.S. generals from key positions, yet another top military administration figure has abruptly exited the scene. Are President Trump and his nominee Pete Hegseth now scrambling desperately to find convenient scapegoats for the complete debacle of the Iran war? In a sign of desperation, President Trump has extended the ceasefire agreement even further, as the U.S. military appears utterly unable to handle the escalating threats from Iran. Amid the ongoing Iran war and its mounting pressures, the Trump administration's top civilian official in the U.S. Navy has suddenly announced his immediate exit from the position. The Pentagon, on April 22nd, officially announced that Navy Secretary John Phelan has left his high-profile position within the Department of Defense. A Pentagon spokesman confirmed that Phelan departed from his critical role as Navy Secretary with immediate effect, effective right away. Hung Cao, who previously served as the Navy Undersecretary in a key supporting role, will now step up to become the acting Navy Secretary. This sudden departure came just one day after Phelan had addressed the Navy's annual conference in Washington, D.C., catching many by surprise. Notably, Phelan hadn't served in the military himself or held any prior civilian leadership role in defense before taking this top Navy job. Phelan's unexpected departure came right after the ouster of several senior generals amid the U.S. military's ongoing struggles in the Iran war. War Secretary Pete Hegseth fired the Army's top officer, General Randy George, from his command position on April 1st. 2 other top generals in the Army were also removed from their important positions as part of the recent shakeup. John Phelan, who served as the Secretary of the Navy in a top civilian leadership role, has now departed from his position amid recent turmoil. General Randy George, the U.S. Army Chief of Staff responsible for overall Army operations, was fired from his high-ranking command position. Major General William Green Jr., the Army's Chief of Chaplains overseeing spiritual and morale support, has been removed from his key leadership role. General David Hodden, Commanding General of the Army Transformation and Training Command focused on modernizing forces, was also ousted from his position. Phelan was a major donor to Trump's campaign and also held an advisory position in a non-profit organization. The non-profit, Spirit of America, supported the defense of Ukraine as well as the defense of Taiwan. The U.S. Navy Secretary's departure came amid the U.S. military's failing blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. On the very day Phelan's exit was announced, Iranian forces seized 2 Israel-linked ships in a bold escalation. On April 22nd, Iran released a video showing its naval forces seizing commercial vessels that it described as linked to Israel, increasing pressure in the Strait of Hormuz. The ships were accused of violating maritime regulations that Iran has imposed around the strait, according to a report by Iran International. The footage was described as the first video of this kind of enforcement operation since the war began on February 28, giving viewers a rare glimpse of Iran's new blockade-style posture. Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency reported that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, carried out the operation, underscoring its role in controlling the waterway. Amid the ongoing standoff with the United States, Iran claimed to have seized 2 ships and taken them to its shores, portraying the move as a test of its authority in the region. This marks the first confirmed instance of Iran formally detaining foreign-linked vessels amid its own blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, crossing a threshold in the naval confrontation. The IRGC also issued a strong warning alongside the operation, emphasizing that it will treat any attempt to interfere with its control of the strait as a serious provocation. The IRGC warned that any disruption to order and security in the Strait of Hormuz would cross a red line, indicating that further incidents could trigger a more escalatory response. Reflecting these tensions, Brent crude prices climbed above $100 per barrel for the first time in about 2 weeks, driven by growing concerns over supply disruptions. The rise is being linked to the dual effect of the American blockade on Iranian ports and Iran's parallel efforts to restrict certain shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Major economies are now drawing down strategic reserves and cutting consumption where possible in an attempt to manage the economic impact of the tightening energy squeeze. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps attacked a 3rd ship on April 22nd in the Strait of Hormuz, Iranian media reported, escalating tensions in the strategic waterway. The attacked vessel was identified as the Euphoria, according to News, Fars, and Mer, which all reported the IRGC strike on the ship. Iranian reports said the Euphoria had become stranded on the Iranian coast, without elaborating on the exact circumstances or damage. The IRGC also separately attacked and seized 2 other vessels, MSC Francesca and the Epaminondas, in the same area. The Guard said that the violating ships Epaminondas and the Israel-linked MSC Francesca had endangered maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz. According to the IRGC, both ships were operating without the necessary permits and had tampered with their navigation systems, which it described as a threat to navigational safety. These incidents came just after Trump, on April 21st, extended the truce with Iran but refused to lift the US blockade around Hormuz, keeping naval pressure in place despite the attacks. The first Iranian reaction on April 22 to the US ceasefire extension was sharply critical, with Tehran signaling that it views the move as more tactical than substantive. A senior advisor to the Speaker of Iran's parliament issued an outright dismissal of the US decision, arguing that Washington should not portray the extension as a diplomatic concession. Mahdi Mohammadi, an aide to Iran's lead negotiator in the Pakistan-mediated talks, publicly warned the US that the truce extension would not alter the underlying power dynamics. Mohammadi stated that the extension means nothing and stressed that it does not change the ground situation, where the US blockade on Iranian ports remains in place. Mahdi Mohammadi said, and I quote, "Trump's ceasefire extension means nothing. The losing side cannot dictate terms. The continuation of the siege is no different from bombardment and must be met with a military response. Moreover, Trump's ceasefire extension is certainly a ploy to buy time for a surprise strike. The time for Iran to take the initiative has come." Unquote.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.